Welcome to the class today. My name is Brenda Linares, and I'll be one of the instructors for the class. And I have my colleague here, Jacob White. So I'm starting with this picture because I want to kind of think about, well, how do you start your idea? You have to have your thinking caps on and try to think about, well, when I'm doing my searching, I need to have a good search strategy, but before I get to that, I need to have a good research question to answer. So I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I have a little bit of Star Wars thing, and I know that for some of them it's the beginning of the semester. For some of you already have been in school for a while, but I hope that the force is with you today, and when you do your research, so that when you go out there and start searching the databases, you get what you're looking for. So here are pictures and our contact information. Please reach us if you have any questions. So what are we going to be talking to you today? Today we're basically going to give you some ideas and things to think about when it comes to developing your research questions, because sometimes you might have an idea in your mind, but when it comes to going to the databases, you have to be able to see how the databases have the information organized. And so it helps to kind of think about that thorough, and so we're going to give you some kind of things to think about when you're doing that. And then once you have that research question, then you want to create a good search strategy to find what you're looking for. And then from there, I'm going to be doing those two parts. And then my colleague Jacob is going to kind of go over how to basically pick the right database, and then kind of showcasing how to break down from the research question to the search strategy, to then go into the databases and searching some of that within the databases themselves. So search strategy, what makes a good research question? So throughout the presentation, you're probably going to hear words like Boolean searching, which I'm going to tell you what that is about. Synonyms, coming up with keywords, coming up with a good search strategy, and keeping that focus. So this is an article that I found that I've used in the past that says, well, what is a good research question? The selection and formulation of a good research question is very important. It might be the most important thing you're doing when it comes to doing your research. Because if you have a good research question, you basically try to find an answer to that and do that. So in the ability to pose good questions is not an innate skill. However, the skills can be cultivated and used successfully. So don't get intimidated by the databases. Don't get intimidated by trial and error. Eventually you get that right. And we're always learning together. So make sure that when you have that idea, that research question is really important because you're trying to find something that's going to be answerable. So what makes a good research question? Well, for the most part, you want the research question to be focused. Sometimes you have a lot of ideas in your mind, and you're trying to figure out, well, what I remember meeting with someone that she was doing research on HIV, and she had this great idea, and I said, you know what, I think you have a lot of research questions that you're going to be looking for, and you're going to have like 5 or 6 articles that you can publish on. So she just wanted to find everything on one topic, and I said, you know what, let's narrow it down. This could be different search strategies. So definitely have a focus. Define, you want to know what you're looking for, because a lot of times it could be too broad, and you want to make sure you know, okay, what am I looking for? Let me have it more specific. And I say a lot of maybe 3 concepts, and the reason I say that, if you start adding too many concepts to your research question, you might be getting too specific, but we'll get to the point about being research question, the concepts, because you might have a specific population, you might have a specific intervention, or you're comparing it to another intervention, or you're having a location that, a place that you're doing the research on. So basically thinking about those concepts and making them narrow down is going to help you find what you're looking for. And something that is answerable, and for the most part, definitely interesting to you, because you don't want to spend your time on something that you're not going to have fun looking for information about. So keep that in mind. What a research question is not. It's definitely not vague, because you basically, if you're too broad and you're searching your databases, you're probably going to find too many things on too many topics, and you're going to be overwhelmed by what you find. So you want to make sure you have it more focused, like I said, and not make it too specific, because sometimes there might not be anything out there on that topic. And so you want to kind of make sure you have something that's answerable. So based on those things that I just mentioned there, here's a sample question. If I say, what impact do health disparities have on work outcomes? Is this a clear and specific question? And if it's not, tell me why not. And you can just raise your hand or scream it out. Yes.
I guess the impact word is a little bit tricky, because what impact you're talking about? Negative impact, positive impact?
Somebody in class says that the impact could be kind of too broad. Is it negative? Is it positive? True, that's correct. Because you want to think about, what do you mean by impact? Is it Is it basically saying, is it an outcome? What specific income are you talking about? Anything else? Yes.
To feed up what she just said, health disparities, that's so broad.
Exactly, health disparities. You can go there and search health disparities, but that's not going to help you because there's going to be a lot of articles on different health disparities. So you want to make sure you know which health disparity are you talking about. Exactly. Anything else? How about any other parts of the question? So when you talk about, okay, how about you said health disparities? Somebody said health disparities is too broad. What would be maybe a specific thing or health disparity that you would be searching for?
Sorry.
You have food in your mouth, no worries.
I don't mind speaking.
Anybody else that can think about, because we definitely, that's true. Health disparities could be very broad. Could there be specific synonym or specific health disparity that we could be searching on? Maternal blood pressure, okay? So see how you're gonna have this general search question that now as you're thinking about it, it's a good starting point, but then you're gonna wanna think about, okay, what are some concepts that I can basically narrow this down more to, because health disparities could be so many things. So thanks for participating. So here we go. I kind of said, okay, what are the main concepts in the research question? I have health disparities as one of them, and potentially impact could be one of them, like a student said, but birth outcomes could be the other one. So now that I have my question, and I'm identifying the key main concepts of that, then I can say, okay, these are my key concepts. What are the synonyms that I can find for those concepts? And what are some of the key concepts that I'm going to be searching on? And then the thing is, you start searching for those keywords and testing them and see what's out there. So in this case, if those were the main concepts that from my point of view I wanted to focus on, here's what I can do. I know that the main concept is health disparities, and I say birth outcomes. Well, what exactly do I mean by that? I put them on synonyms, so because of you're basically making more specific keywords from that. So does that make sense? As you can see, you went from a broad topic to a more specific, trying to break that down. Because now I know this could encompass so much birth outcomes, but if I know the specific ones that I'm talking about, then I can go into the literature and look at the databases to find something that is more specific to that. And so here's something useful that I think you saw in the handouts that we kind of like. It's very helpful because now you have a way of kind of thinking again. This is not even, you're not even looking at the databases yet. You're kind of brainstorming ideas. You're brainstorming the keywords. You're brainstorming the concepts and synonyms for those concepts. So it's a way of kind of thinking, I'm going from the broad concept to what are some synonyms that I can find and making it narrower. And so here's a way of going from this to that. Now that I have my concepts and I know that they're synonyms. And the thing that it helps to do that is because in the literature, different people have different synonyms for concepts. And so you're thinking about, you're the expert in that field and the subject. So you want to kind of think about, okay, what would an author on this topic call this specific concept? Or could there be acronyms? Sometimes you might have an acronym for a concept. Maybe the World Health Organizations, or maybe in the title they put WHO, APA. Thinking about whether it be acronyms, or even, this is just based on that, but sometimes even variations of a concept, or the way that they write it down. Some people, for some reason, breastfeeding, some people write breastfeeding as one term, breastfeeding as 2 words, and even breastfeeding as a dash. So if you want to be inclusive and finding everything relevant to that term, you might want to basically write the different variations for that concept to find what you're looking for. So just to get us started with that, I like to kind of see what the audience experiences is with searching. So if I go here, I have a poll everywhere that I've opened up. So if you're familiar with poll everywhere, if you don't mind, if you have your phones, text to the number 2233, my name, Brenda Linares, and once you're in that survey, answer this question and see how familiar you are with searching in the databases. And this is basically when you're searching in the database and you're including and between the terms and the concepts, what does that do to your search results? And here's my kind of, sometimes see if you're already participating, I always kind of go back and forth. There we go. Let's see. There we go. Now it's activated. Okay. see a mixture of responses. So it looks like 50% of you say that writing an and between concepts narrows the search. Well, let's keep the suspense going. How about the next question is, how about putting an or? And I think I have to activate it. So it looks like for the most part, 85% of you know that that's, what does it do? So let's go and see what it does. Well, you were correct. What does the Boolean searching do? A lot of the people think that when you're searching databases, it's more like Boolean searching, that you go out there in the browser and you put a question and it comes up with an answer. Unfortunately, that's not the case with the databases. You have to know that everything's organized into keywords and concepts and headings. And so this way of searching helps you narrow down what you're looking for. So if you use and as part of your strategy and you're combining concepts, what and does, it basically narrows your search. So you know when I said at the beginning about your research question and having 1, 2, or 3 concepts, you're combining those concepts with and because you're narrowing it down and you want to find articles that have those concepts together. What does the or do? It basically expands the search. And what I mean by expanding it, mentioning, like I said in the slide before, when I had the synonyms and the main concept, you're basically expanding it and saying, well, this is the main concept I'm looking for, but it could be a specific synonym, this could be a specific acronym, or they could name this in a different way. So you were correct. The and narrows it down, and the or expands it. And making sure when you do that, you use caps for the and and the ors, because sometimes the database can get confused and think that if it's lowercase, it's part of your search strategy, and will look for an and in your results, and you don't want to do that. Any questions on that? So then, going back to my question that I had, see how at the top I had my breakdown of the concepts. So now I basically have my search strategy ready to search in the databases. I have the health disparity concept, and I have the birth outcome concept. I could add something else to narrow it down. Right now, in that example, I have 2 concepts, but maybe I want to have a specific location. Maybe I'm doing research on maybe women in Haiti, so I can add the location, or a specific population. Maybe I want to see this when it comes to adults or teenage women. So this could narrow it down, but in this case, with the example, I only have 2 concepts. So as you notice, I have the ands and the ors in capital, and I have them in parentheses. And the reason I have them in parentheses is when you're searching some of the databases, I like Signal because it breaks it down in 3 different search boxes. A lot of the times, many of those databases only have 1 search box. So you want to make sure you know how you're breaking them down with the parentheses, because you're saying, my first concept is the health disparity ones, in parentheses with the or, and then combining it with the next concept in parentheses with the or. So that helps it separate it. Truncation is something that I've used. If you notice, some people like to use it. It depends on the concept that you're searching, but if there's different variations for it, in this case, in my example, I put ethnic. You might look at ethnicity. Other terms that it could be, for example, diabetes, diabetic. If you don't want to write the different variations, you can put a little star, and it would kind of look for the different variation of it. But just be careful the kind of root word you're using, because if you use one that has different variations or different other ones, you might not get to the one. For example, if you wanted to use sex orientation or sexual harassment, if you put sex in the abstract, you probably would, if you do this in PubMed, it says it only looks for the first 600 variations of that. So if you're doing orientation, it probably hasn't even gotten to the O because it's going in alphabetical order. Parentheses, I told you about separating it in concepts. And then quotations, like I mentioned, there could be some concepts that you want to look for together as a phrase. Like I mentioned, breastfeeding. Some people might put breastfeeding as 2 words. Well, I put quotations on it saying, I want you to look for the word breastfeeding together next to each other as a phrase. Okay. Does that make sense? So this is a way of thinking about how to searching. So now that you have your search strategy on, let's do one question before Jacob does his part on showing you how to go and searching. So now that you have that, let's say how familiar you are with databases. So you have your research question, you have your search strategy. Now we're about to look into the databases and we have to decide which one it is. But we just wanted to see how comfortable are you when it comes to searching databases. There's a couple of you are an expert. That's great. And comfortable, that's awesome. And if you're lost or what's a database, that's okay. We can go over that with you, or that's what we're here for, to teach you more about that. So it looks like many of you are comfortable searching. So that means when we have this demo of the searching, it won't be as complicated as it is to some people. So now Jacob is going to go, now that you have your research question, you have your search strategy, we're going to go and see how we're searching.
Hi, everyone. Like Brenda said, I'm another one of the librarians over at Dykes. Hopefully by now, a lot of us have finished eating lunch, and maybe we can take out our laptops and click along if we want to. And then we're going to look at how different databases respond to different searches to sort of get an idea of which database we should be using for the specific subject that we're going to be addressing. So Brenda, was there a poll? We did the poll everywhere. That was the how comfortable are you? Okay, so like I said, there's a wide variety of databases to use depending on what sort of research you're doing, even within health sciences. And we're going to go through a couple of them today. So the idea originally of indexing and things like that is to make things as easy as possible for you guys to find as students. And with the internet, finding things has gotten easier and easier for users, and the librarians don't need to be as involved in helping you get things for your papers. And so this knowing how to use the indexes, knowing how to use these shortcuts that have been put in place for you to find articles about topics that you're interested in is a really good way to get a complete picture of the subject you're looking at. But first you have to know where to look at all. So we have a couple of different types of subject databases and citation indexes. There's a few differences between the few. A subject database is going to be subject specific. It's going to be a little easier user experience. It's going to have subject headings. And it's possible to do a really complete literature search in a subject database. Citation indexes are a little bit different. They're more to give you maybe an idea of a subject, of a topic that you're interested in, to see what the really influential papers are in that topic, to see what the major journals are in that topic, and then also to sort of see some scholarly communication, who's citing who, who's popular, who's getting cited a lot. Even to the degree of like what specific papers are getting cited a lot, you can kind of tell what topics are interesting to researchers in that specific field. Citation indexes are a little trickier to use if you were going to like prepare for a literature review, because you don't have quite as much of the user interface as you get for a subject database. And the citation index we'll talk about today is Web of Science. Okay, so let's take a question that we might have that might just, be a popular question right now in health, and let's try to take these concepts that we see in the question and turn them into terms. And Brenda is going to write them down on a whiteboard. Sometimes we like to start on a whiteboard and then eventually make our way in front of a keyboard, but for now, let's just brainstorm some topics a little bit and try to build a useful and valid search. So who wants to get started? Brad, you look excited. I'm going to pick on you.
Okay, very opioids, heroin, if there's types that we're trying to think of.
Yeah, okay, so we could do opioids, we could do specific opioids if we wanted. Do you think that if we were going to truncate, we would want to truncate just OPI? Because we have opioids and opiates. Do you think an OPI truncation would be good?
I'll trust it, not about all of them, yes.
Well, we could try it. We could try it at least. But remember what Brenda said about if you have like not enough letters before your truncation. So like pharma is another one where if you truncate, you have to be kind of specific about where you're going to put that asterisk. Otherwise, you might get really out there concepts that you're not looking for. So we can try it for now. Like we've been saying, this is a lot of trial and error, experimenting, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. We'll give it a shot. Okay, any other concepts coming to mind? Pregnant, pregnancy, pregnant mothers.
Prenatal care.
Prenatal care. Okay, I think we have one more broad concept that we need to pick up on. Barriers. There we go. Barriers to care. What are some other
Any specific
synonyms?
Insurance.
There we go.
Maybe stigma,
Maybe where they live.
geography, location. Okay, great. So we have three sort of concepts here. We have pregnancy, pregnant mothers, prenatal care. We have opiate-related disorders, which we're going to experiment with that one. And then we have barriers to care. Yes.
Just a quick question. Pregnant mothers, do you refer as like women that have kids and are pregnant?
So for this question specifically, I don't think that whether or not they already have kids is important. The main factor is,
Okay.
but that's a good question. Like, oh yeah,
Because it's pregnant mothers.
obviously. Okay. Yes. Yes. That's past tense, present tense. Okay.
You might want to say pregnant women
Yeah.
instead of pregnant mothers.
Okay. Yeah.
But that could be something to that define your public as well. Because pregnant mothers, if it is a mother.
Right.
that
Then
is
you have
pregnant,
childcare issues and a whole other basket of
Yeah.
barriers. Okay. Thanks for pointing that out.
And see, that's the thing about kind of, that's the thing that you're seeing, that we're going from a very general question, and now you're kind of thinking about the specifics, the population, the topic, the concepts, and this is kind of like a thing that you're brainstorming in your specific question. If this is geared to specifically your topic, you're going to put that in, or somebody else is taking it from a different perspective. So this is one where you're kind of brainstorming the ideas of what approach to take.
And like you mentioned, it's a more specific concept. So is there going to be as much literature out there about women who are pregnant and who are also mothers, or women who are pregnant and are also mothers, and women who are pregnant and not mothers? So that's a good or-in there. So that might have been too specific of an and to go with pregnant and mothers. Okay, so we have some different databases that we can look for these keywords in, or we can build a little search. I'm going to click out of the PowerPoint and hope that our friends on Zoom can still follow along. Here's the library's homepage. From the library's homepage, you have a couple of different options to get to our databases. The most popular databases are right here. PubMed is very popular for medicine, and CINAHL is the nursing and allied health most popular database. So you can always start your search there. If you're if you're off campus and you need to get access to full text articles, this is definitely the place to start so that you can get authenticated. We have another place that you can get databases though, a much, much broader list. And that's our databases list. As you can see, we have access to 104 different databases. So let's go over to P. Here's some databases that we're not going to be going over today until we get down to PubMed. But So another major article database is PsycInfo. But you can see here that we also provide little descriptions of all of these different databases so that you can see what kind of content is held in them. Today, we are going to look at CINAHL, so I'll open one of those windows. We're going to look at Google Scholar, so I'll open one of those. We're going to look at PubMed. And then we're also going to look at Web of Science. Is everyone who has their laptop out following like how to access these and everything? Is everything showing up okay? Okay, good. All right, so we won't start in CINAHL because, well, actually we could. Okay. I'm gonna try to type in. Hope this thing stays up. Okay. So we have opioid, or we do opiate, or we're going to try OP. And our next concept, we're going to stick with should we do the specific pregnant mothers, or should we just do broadly pregnancy? I think let's do the broader one, because otherwise we might not get enough returns. Okay, pregnancy or prenatal care was mentioned. Okay, and then our third concept, barriers. Okay, so a nice thing about CINAHL, well, depends on who you ask, but some people like the autofill. So this is barriers or obstacles or challenges, barriers, obstacles, challenges, difficulties. Not every database is going to give you these sort of autofill options, but they can be nice if you're having a hard time spelling something or if something just, you missed. So let's go ahead and see what we get though.
And he's being generic when it comes to barriers. Some of you mentioned income, location, insurance. If you're focusing on some of them, you can write those in terms of your third concept to search and find stuff like that.
Okay, so we got 107 results here, and we can talk about the features of the database in a little. Maybe Brenda will go over them, but I think for now we should just proceed and see how the search looks in the other databases as well. If I can, this tabs is, okay. Okay, so the results look pretty good, but we got about 28,000 results. So that's a little bit hard to manage. And one thing that's a little unfortunate about Google Scholar, as comprehensive as it is it's the filters are not quite what you get with the other databases. So let's leave Google Scholar there for now. Okay, so PubMed tells us that they did not like our OPI. It only used the sort of 600 variations. If you just type sort of a search like this into PubMed and then you want to see, oh, I wonder like what PubMed really searched, you can go down here and just see more search details. And you can see that there are a large number of OPI starting things. Okay, but let's look at the returns we got. Those look a little better. But I think maybe if we take out that OPI, we might get more specific results. Yes. $56. Okay, so that's pretty manageable. And let's just pick a random one. Okay, this one looks interesting. Barriers to accessing treatment for pregnant women with opioid use disorder in Appalachian states. So that's pretty close. That's pretty close to what we're looking for. And it's from Substance Abuse. So that looks like a good journal. Did we cover? Oh, and then Web of Science. So Web of Science, like I said, is a little bit different because it's not a subject database. It's a citation index. But if you take an article that you really like from one of the subject databases and you just search for it in Web of Science, you can see, oh, that didn't work. Okay.
Not all of them. would be
Yeah, not all of them are going to be there. I thought that one was. That's okay. This is from 2018, so maybe a little too new. Let's pick
A lot of the
it.
times, one of the reasons we use Web of Science is, let's say you found a really good article that is from 2015 or 2010, and you really like what the content has, but you want to see, is there any research that has been done on that? Well, let's see if somebody else cited it, and they got some Web of Science that we told to say, then you look for this article and see who else cited that article, and publish something that's more recent. So let me do that.
Yeah, go for it.
What I was adding to the fact is a lot of the time we use Web of Science as a tool to, let's say you find an article in PubMed that was from 2010 and you want to see if something more recently has been published on the topic, then you can go ahead and go to Web of Science and search for that specific article, and it shows you if other new published articles have cited that as part of the research. And so you can see that if you find an article from 2010 and somebody cited it and did research on 2018, 2017, it's more current, and therefore you're finding more relevant research on that topic itself.
Let's see if that works. Okay.
Here we go. Here's an example. You see that there's a title and it's been cited. This is from 2018. It's still kind of recent, but if you can see that there's 2 citations within that has cited it. So if I go to those, here they are, and they're new. This one, see May, June 2019. So you can see that now I can see those articles that are basically a similar topic, and I can go to those and be able to kind of see that's more recent one there. And something too that in Web of Science, you can scroll down and see some of the references. And so you can actually go and look at those references and see, for example, the second one, it's been cited 288 times. So you can say, well, this is from 2008. If I go to those that had those recent ones, they're probably going to be newer ones. So see 2019, August 2019. So that's a good tool to find stuff that is more relevant to that topic.
And also with Web of Science, you can sort. We didn't really talk too much about how to sort the different results yet, but here you can sort by most recent, or you can sort by, they have a best match option, which is going to be, your results are going to look a little different. They're going to be presented a little differently, but you can get what PubMed thinks is going to be the best match. And then if you also want to do some other filtering, you can look at, I only want things recently, within the last 5 years, 10 years, depending on the species. I actually think that some of these might be not related to humans. So let's see if we only filter for species. We lost about, we lost a few results. Okay. So humans is the most popular mesh heading in this database. There's, who wants to guess how many different articles in PubMed that are tagged with human as one of the subject headings, as a mesh heading? Almost. As of last year, there were 8 million articles that were related to human subjects in PubMed. So that's the #1 biggest, most tagged article topic. And then there's over 27,000 different terms. And everyone in this room has actually probably done a little bit of your own indexing at some point. Like if you've been to a wedding or a bar mitzvah and you went on Instagram or Facebook and you hashtagged using that hashtag, that's actually an example of a controlled vocabulary, because then anyone who searches for that hashtag in Facebook or in Instagram is going to find all of those results assuming you didn't get right 2018 instead of 2019 or some other mistake like that. So all of these are sorted by hand in PubMed. There's indexers that live in, well, they live all over, but they're based in Maryland and Washington, D.C., and they go through all of these, the full text, and they decide what the best mesh terms, what the best headings are going to be. And then you can search for those, and it gives you the best response. So let's look at the mesh terms for this top article. PubMed did a nice job, and they were nice to us with best match and gave us a really good one. And down here in this citation, we get mesh terms. So here's all the tags. And most articles that are indexed, and it takes a little while because it's done by humans, have 10 to 20 different terms. And if we look at these terms, then we'll have a much better sense of what other articles might be available that we missed when we were just using our loosey-goosey keywords, what we would call an uncontrolled vocabulary. Brenda, do you want to add anything right now?
And as you can see, this is helpful. We just started doing keyword searching, but now that you know that this is a good article, you can look at what kind of, in this case, PubMed uses it, it's called MESH, it's medical subject headings. So it's a way of kind of indexing the articles and attaching that specific term to it. But if you do the keyword searching, some of those will map and you will get those relevant results. If you use CINAHL, they call it CINAHL headings. But for the most part, you start searching by keyword searching because that will give you those results. In this case, I know earlier in the conversation we were talking about, is it pregnant women, prenatal care? And so as you can see, social class, social stigma, so we're talking about barriers. So that's something that you can think about. That's basically, we put barriers, but now we know that those are some of the concepts that you can write into your search strategy when it comes to that, or even female infant. And if you notice, let me see where we did the CINAHL one. Here we go. Here's the thing in CINAHL. So when we look at CINAHL, they have different terms. If I go to one of them and I can look at it, they call it subject headings. So if you can see where it says major headings, again, this one has pregnancy complications, postnatal care, prenatal care. There's the term we were using, so it came up as an article. So you can see that some of those terms, you then can say, oh, let me add those terms to my search strategy so that I can basically have more articles that are relevant and inclusive to those same ones. So if I go back again to this one, you see those. But if I go back to my PubMed search too, I can go and say, this is an article that I like. You can also see some similar articles on the right side that are similar in topic. So that gives you another way of finding relevant articles that could be used. Or here it says cited in PubMed. You can look at those articles. And then also, once you have the citation, you want to know that we have them in the library. So I can go in and click here and say, find it at KUMC. And that should be an easy way to get to it. And if you have any issues getting to the article, contact us right away. There says report a problem. We have our librarian who actually happens to be here, Brad. He basically, as soon as he gets those messages, he says, okay, we have an issue getting a link to the articles. Make sure we update that and make sure you have access to it. So you can go ahead and get the article. Now, sometimes I tell people that there might be other ways of getting it, but in this case, it's through that. I click on the article and it should come up automatically. So here it is. I click on that. Let me do it again for you to see. And so here we go. Here's the PDF, and there's the article itself. Sometimes we tend to have as much as we can and pay the subscription to the journals, but sometimes there could be that particular article that we might not have an access to or subscription to. Don't limit yourself and say, well, we don't have access to the article. I don't want to use it. We can request that for you through our interlibrary loan department. And usually we have great people working there. It usually takes 1 to 2 days to get that for you. So don't kind of miss that really great article that's going to help you for your research and your assignment if we don't have access to it. Request it through our interlibrary loan. So this is the article. So if, let's say, you wanted to request it, you can click on it. If it usually says request the article, but if you have the information, here's it says request materials. You click on that, and then you log in. We recommend you creating an account within there so that way they have your email. But once you log in, you go into a place where you basically put the information of that citation to request it for you. So again, make sure you take advantage of that and don't limit yourself with just the articles that we have access to. Any questions on that when it comes to searching the databases? And again, we're just giving you an overview because we hope that once you have a specific question that you have about, you can come and meet with your librarian and we can go over the different process one-on-one with you in a consultation to provide more like a specific gear consultation and advising you which specific database to search on and which search strategy works best for your topic.
Yeah, so we'll sort of wind down, review things a little bit here. This is the keyword searching versus subject heading searching, which I briefly discussed. Subject headings is a controlled vocabulary. Indexers who are professionals will go through the whole index, and the whole point is to make it as easy as possible for you to find everything that you need and nothing that you don't. It's not perfect, but can be a lot better than keyword searching. And keyword searching is a good place to start if you're not quite sure what the subject headings are, if you're sort of still trying to figure out how much has already been written about your topic, whether it's going to be enough, whether you're too specific, whether you need to broaden your topic. So this gives a couple examples of places to find subject headings for a looser group of people, but I would start like with the CINAHL headings and then also with the mesh terms. And using the mesh terms is a really good way to get the most high quality information you want from the literature. We went through this a tiny bit also, but you can use keyword mining, you can snowball. In PubMed, there was those related articles. You can go into citations, or in Web of Science, you can look at what articles have already cited the article that you're looking at. You can look at the references. And as we started with, the research process can be a little fuzzy, it can be a little gray. Sometimes things will just pop up out of the blue to you, and allow that to happen and be open-minded when you're getting started with your research. Okay, and then differences. We went through this. PubMed indexes doesn't search full text. Web of Science I just talked about. Google Scholar does search full text. That's why we got such an enormous amount of returns, and it has limited sorting, filtering, and citation collection options, which means that you're just going to have to look at those first few articles in the way that you would with Google, where you normally just look at the first few results and that's going to do it. And if you're just having a hard time finding on the other databases, you can look at those first few articles and then maybe try to find the article in PubMed or try to find the article in Web of Science and use that as a starting point. But I would not use Google Scholar much beyond sort of a starting point, because you're going to get flooded with information, not get a true sense of how much has already been written and how much you need to read through, and you can't do this filtering.
And again, like everything, you have to go through a process and different steps. So this is not, there's no right or wrong way to do this. You might start with a research question and then kind of go do the search strategy and realize as you're going through the literature, you know what, I'm going to refine my topic. I'm going to take a different approach. So it's kind of like a circle. You go back and say, okay, I have my broad question. I came up with a more specific research topic based on my brainstorming ideas. I came up with a search strategy, searched the databases, and kind of changed my mind and went about doing that. So kind of think about the fact that it's going to be a process. You're not going to get it right the first time. Just understanding the process and the steps that go along with that is going to be very helpful to you. So now you have your research question, you did your search strategy, you went into the databases, and you found what you're looking for. One of the things that we don't cover in this class, but something to keep in mind is once you're ready to do your paper or publish your article, you want to have a place to basically have all your citations in one place, because we have tools out there available for you that make it simple to cite those references in your document and in your papers. And so one of those tools is EndNote. And we're not going to cover that today, but we actually have a class that's going to be taught in November. And so I would advise you to kind of come to that class. My colleague Prasanna is going to be teaching it. It's going to kind of show you how to create an EndNote library, how to add references to that, and be able to kind of explore and import basically citations. If you go to PubMed and you found the good citations you want, there's a way of importing those citations from PubMed into EndNote. And then when you're getting ready to write your paper, you can just start writing your paper and then go and import the citation as a reference, and it'll make things so much easier for you when you're writing those papers or publishing an article. And so we'll go through those steps. And then if there's other class that we're going to be teaching, which is about open access and open education resources. Brad and myself will be teaching the class next month, so we kind of invite you to come to those other classes and learn about those other topics that could definitely be interesting to you. But other than that, do you have any questions for us? I hope you enjoy the class and know that we're basically available for you to meet one-on-one for consultations. You don't have to, if you're not available in person, we do video conferencing consultations. Just kind of make an appointment with us. You can email us directly, or you can actually go to the page, to the homepage of the library. And if you go here on my right, and where it says, let's see if I minimize that. Schedule an appointment. If you click on that, you'll see that there's my name, there's Jacob, my other colleague, if you're in the School of Health Professions. Prasanna, it's the other librarian. So you can set up, and Rachel, who is the director of the department, you can basically schedule appointments with us to meet with you, because right now we kind of, if you have a specific question about a topic and you're not sure which database to look for, because for example, maybe you're doing something on mental health, maybe you want to do PsycInfo for that, so we can show you how to search that, or maybe you're doing research on geriatrics, I can show you how to use HLine, which is a specific database for that. So in a way, know that we're here as resources to help you in any way we can to help you find what you're looking for. So if you spend 30 minutes to an hour searching and you're frustrated and you're not finding what you're looking for, reach us and we'll help you with that. So if there's no questions, if you don't mind, if you have your app and your phone available, we have a quick question for you to let us know how the class went. And this is basically, what do you think of the class? Was it helpful? What did you like? Give us some feedback so we can have this in mind for future classes. But if we have a couple of minutes left, are there any questions that we can help you with based on what we just explained to you and showed you? And this, if you text, you can basically text phrases or words, and we just want to have your feedback. And you're also going to have the feedback and the evaluations that you have in front of you. That's really helpful for us to know maybe what topics to teach in the future or how the class went. But if there's no other questions, we're going to be here for you if you have any quick questions. Thanks for coming, and I hope you have a good rest of your day and a good rest of your week after a 3-day weekend. So thank you so much.